We all know NFTs are blowing up right now, that everybody is buying them, and a lot of people think that if they just create whatever and slap it up, that everybody will buy it and they'll sell out in no time and they'll be millionaires. But there is one thing that most people are not telling you about NFTs and NFT art right now, and that is this. There is a minuscule amount of projects that are actually selling out. But you can drastically improve your chances by adding a utility to your NFT. So today, we're gonna go deep in on NFT utilities. I'm gonna talk to you about what they are, why you want them, some NFT utility examples, and finally, how to advertise your utility to make more sales. My name is Trent Kennelly. I'm a metaverse marketing strategist, and this is the best place for you to learn about NFTs, the metaverse, and how to market it all. So if that sounds good to you and you're excited, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to my channel if you're into it, comment to let me know the coolest NFT utility that you've seen. I would love to know. There are some awesome ones, lots of different varieties out there. I would love to talk to you about it, and let's get started. Okay, so what is an NFT utility? So we know what an NFT is. If you don't know what an NFT is, you should probably start with this video and then come back here to learn about NFT utilities after you've watched that one. An NFT utility is a trait that adds intrinsic value to the NFT beyond its simple rarity. So to understand this a little deeper, let's compare Pudgy Penguins to crypto baristas. So visually, there's not an enormous difference, right? I mean, if you're just looking at the pictures themselves, Pudgy Penguins and crypto baristas, they are effectively the same idea. I'm not trying to disparage NFT art, but generally speaking, this is the case, right? You look at a Pudgy Penguin and it'll be a penguin from like this level up, so like shoulders up, and it'll have different traits. So it'll mouth open, mouth closed, glasses, no glasses, a necklace, whatever, like thousands of different things that it could be. Basically the same thing with crypto baristas, though it's a smaller collection, right? There's really nothing to differentiate them if you're just looking at the art itself. Now, of course, there are other factors at play, like the artist profile, how it's traded, etc. Those are all things that kind of go into it. You can check out this video for more details on that. But the utility here allows the owner to do something with the NFT. What can you do with a Pudgy Penguin? You can hold it, you can trade it and make money off of it. You can slap it up on a social media profile. That's about it. It's a little like physical art, right? I mean, you can display it or you can sell it, and that's kind of where it stops. But it also seems like, because this is digital and digital is much more fluid in general, that you should be able to do more with it, right? So let's compare that to a crypto barista. So crypto baristas were created to fund a brick and mortar cafe in New York City. So you can hold it, you can trade it, you can slap it up on social media, but you can also get perks that come along with the purchase. So perks might be like a discount at all future coffee shops and websites owned by the company, or community spaces that are just for the NFT holders, etc. So anybody who holds that NFT, nobody can take that away from them. And that's why Crypto Baristas is showing up on lists for investors to watch, not necessarily due to who the artist is, but because these perks are really interesting for these investors. Okay, so we've got all that. Why is it better for your NFT to have a utility? Well, we kind of alluded to this in the last point, but it's something that you can implement to make your NFT useful beyond its appearance. So you can think of it kind of like this. For an NFT, or selling socks on Amazon, or selling a TV through your website, there's one single burning question that you have to answer. What makes what I'm offering better than what every other person is selling? Now forgive me, but I'm gonna be a little bit blunt here. Most NFT projects are indistinguishable from each other. The vast majority are of some anthropomorphic animal or a human from the shoulders up. And it's not that I don't love them. I actually think this is a very unique art form and I do love them. But I'll also say that Bored Apes and Pudgy Penguins exploded because they were original. Now everyone is doing that same style and everyone is in the game. So that style just isn't unique anymore. So if you aren't a well-known artist and you don't already have some sort of a large following on social media or elsewhere of people that are willing to buy from you, you need something that's going to help you stand out from the rest of the NFTs on offer, and that's where utilities come in. All right, so this is a good opportunity to give you some ideas of utilities that have worked in the past. I want to go through a few good examples right now, and the first one is the Flyfish Club. So this is another Gary Vaynerchuk or Gary V project. It's a members-only restaurant in New York City that requires you to be an NFT holder to get in. So this is a fantastic path to take if you're looking for that exclusivity, but your strength is in something other than visual arts. So if you're a chef or you own an exclusive club, requiring NFTs to enter adds more cachet and drives the interest in both the collection and the restaurant up, and also the prices of membership as well. Next, let's talk about Doodles. So Doodles is another 10,000 piece art collection. But what's really interesting here is that you effectively, as an owner, become a non-earning shareholder in the collection. So what that means is that you don't earn dividends or anything, but you do get to vote on the direction of the collection and of the creators and what they're going to be doing with the business a little more broadly. So this kind of takes that idea of community and NFTs, which you can check out this video about, to a whole nother level. It gets more people emotionally invested in the outcome, and each collection going forward, since they were able to use their ideas as part of that development, and the creators are required to consider your ideas in developing their next collections or the next directions they go with the business. Super simple and effective. And finally, a little bit more of a general one, but NFT land. So NFT land is land that you can purchase for just about every metaverse out there today. Decentraland, The Sandbox, Somnium Space are all selling digital land that you can own and build whatever you want on, which means that the utility here is effectively limitless. You can build a casino, you can build an e-commerce store, you can build a roller coaster, whatever you want. The sky is the limit on this one. So you can see when you look at all three of these that utility isn't one thing. It isn't a strict set of guidelines. It can range into basically whatever you want, and that makes it extremely valuable. Okay, so now let's assume that you've picked your NFT utility, you've got it implemented. It doesn't really matter for this section what it is. Let's talk about how you advertise that utility. Now, for a full guide on NFT promotions, I would suggest checking out this video, because right here I want to specifically focus on how to make your project stand out because of the utility itself, which means we're going to talk about three angles. We're going to talk about the action, the channel, and the copy. So let's start with the action. And when I say action, I mean backing up what you say that you do. So let's say that you're the keys to the metaverse and your utility is an API connection that any metaverse can use to bring your collection and the keys from your collection onto their platform. That sounds great, but you don't have any proof to back up that claim if you haven't already gone to, say, Somnium Space and implemented that on their platform before you've launched. And if you did that, then you can say, I have the keys to the metaverse. It can implement with any metaverse I want it to. And actually, I've already done it with Somnium Space. So that adds a lot of clout to your project, and it gets more people talking about it. And it also shows that the utility that you're advertising not only works, but has been adopted by one of those big spaces out there, so people are actually interested in working with it. Now, of course, maybe your utility is more simple. Say you're the owner of an NFT that has a 15% discount for brick and mortar stores for life. That, assuming your store already exists, is pretty easy to show off. People are more likely to believe it sight unseen because they're used to discounts in general. Next, we need to consider what channel we're talking about, because if you're trying to push the utility via social, that's going to look extremely different from how you're displaying that information on your website or on OpenSea. So just generally speaking, let's understand the purpose that people have in seeing this information, and that's going to help us figure out the best way to push this information going forward. On social media, that being Twitter or Discord or Instagram or whatever, people are looking for value. And accounts that just get on these websites to start choking their users with information about their own collection will find those engagement numbers taking a nosedive really quickly, and your follower numbers just never really increasing. However, on a website or on OpenSea, people are more likely to be in a buying mindset. So you don't have to worry about how hard you're pushing the utility. And in fact, on a website, you can push it relatively forcefully since this is a centerpiece of your collection. Then finally, the copy itself. So first, let's remember that we want copy about the NFT utility to be clear and obvious, which means that you shouldn't be afraid to mention it in the first few sections that people see on the website or at the very top of the OpenSea page or in your social media description, etc. That said, it's worth remembering some key copywriting tips that make utilities super, super appealing. You can check out this video for lots of details on copywriting, and you should take a lot of that to heart. But for now, let's just go through some basics. First, pain versus pleasure. So this is a quintessential copywriting concept. You're trying to get something out of the person reading this copy, right? You want them to have a reaction. The strongest reactions that people have are in response to pain and pleasure. Your goal is to write something that makes the reader feel like they're moving toward more pleasure in their life or away from a pain that they're experiencing. Toward pleasure might be something like, these happy pudgy penguins can't wait to be your friends. away from pain could then be something like eliminate loneliness from your life with a Pudgy Penguin friend, something like that. Next, benefits over features. So when you're talking about utilities in particular, this is absolutely key. You want to talk about benefits, you don't want to talk about features. A feature is something that it does. So this NFT provides 15% discounts for life to the holder. Whereas a benefit shows the reader why they should care about the feature, okay? So never pay full price again when you own our NFT. 15% off for life, only to NFT holders. That is a benefit. You can see, okay, there's a feature in there, but this is the benefit to me. I don't have to pay full price ever again. All I have to do is get this NFT and I get 15% off of all products for life. Pretty good deal. That benefits me. And then final point I want to make here is emotionally charged words. So this is a really important thing for any copywriting and especially for a utility because you're trying to get people to feel something, right? And feelings evoke reactions. So you want to use words that drive that emotion as much as possible. Some examples of these kinds of words would be tense, stressed, excited, happy, anxious, powerful, strong, words like that. So these are all words that you can see that get a reaction out of you. There are thousands, and honestly, they're just a Google search away. So I would just search for emotionally charged words and you will get a bunch of results. So I suggest digging into this before you write your copy. There you go. That should help you develop and advertise those NFT utilities. They won't help you sell your project if people don't know that they exist. So I really, really encourage you to push them hard in your own marketing materials. And before you go, make sure that you let me know what the coolest utility you've seen to date is. There are some super cool ones out there and I would love to hear about your favorite. Otherwise, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to my channel if you're into it, and I will catch you in the next one.